Welcome, Siloamians. Is that how do we welcome people in this town?
That's a good question. I think I said Siloamites one time, but
I don't like
my wife didn't like that.
No, no, it sounds like some sort of pest. Yeah. Okay. Well, hello. Welcome to our beautiful studio here at the back of Occasions in the storage room where we make magic happen. And today on the Honor the Past and Plan for the Future podcast, we have Don Clark here as always. Hello, Don.
Hello, people.
And who is here sitting next to you?
Wow. I get to do the introduction?
You do.
Alrighty. This is someone that I've known for quite some time. Maybe even from when he was younger and maybe had a little shenanigans in him. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now has a title, we can say a distinguished gentleman from right here in Siloam Springs. We have the one and only Senator Tyler Dees.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. I am absolutely loving your new podcast. It's a joy to be here today, but I do have to start off with this. This might be the first time ever that I've stepped foot into this wonderful establishment of Occasions and not spent money. And so I need to tell my wife that it's actually possible to come here and not spend money. I can prove it today. But she usually walks out of this facility with all the best, awesome new trends and gifts. So this is a great place. Happy to be here. Excited to be talking with y'all about my favorite hometown of Siloam Springs.
Awesome. It's so easy to talk about.
I like playing the Siloam game of like how many connections can we come up with in like a couple minutes. So we were just talking about how our daughters are in the same they're the same age. So Avonlea is 7. Yep. So is Lizzie, and they were in the same Tendercare class. So shout out to Miss Brenda.
Oh yes. Oh wonderful.
Your kids have Miss Brenda too?
Yeah. Wait. What?
Yes.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
Siloam game.
Hey, Tendercare was great. It was great.
It's on.
That was the place we would go and spy on our kids to see how they were playing in the playground.
Yeah. So, high school. Tyler, you and I went to high school together.
Yes, we did. We're Panthers.
We're Panthers. So I was nerd in the band. How would you describe yourself, Tyler?
Well, I wasn't talented enough to be in the band, okay? They actually asked me not to ever try out. Please don't touch instruments. Please don't tell anybody that you even want to be in the band, because I wasn't skilled enough. But I played basketball and ran cross country, and but you know what? I got to tell you. So my dad and my mom were both public teachers, okay, public administrators. So it may be good to tell folks kind of how I got to Siloam Springs. Would that be good here?
Please.
So we've been here since 2000. And so coming up on 25 years, and my dad was the athletic director and basketball coach here in Siloam Springs.
Yes.
And so that kind of brought us to this area from Tulsa, and I came and finished high school here, and my mom was a elementary school teacher, but that's what brought me to Siloam Springs. And so we're here, I think it was 2 days, maybe 3 days. And there's a knock on our door. And there's 4 high school kids introducing themselves to me and my brother.
Aww.
And they're saying, hey, we heard y'all just moved here. There's a youth event coming up. You guys want to go with us? And I'll tell you, think about that for a freshman in high school and my brother in high school. And we didn't know a single soul in this. And we got people reaching out to us and saying, come on with us. We'll be your friend. And I'll tell you, this happens all the time through our community, where people go out of their way, selflessly go and just give, pour into people, make them feel invited. They didn't know a single thing about us. They don't know what we believe in, what we don't, if you know what it is. But they just said, hey, come on, you're coming with us.
Wow.
And guess what we did? We went. And we loved it. And so that's my first memory of Siloam Springs.
So that was in 2000. 2000.
Yep.
And so sticking to high school, 2002.
Yep.
I think I knew you because we went to church, but I didn't know you.
Right.
My brother-in-law, who's from Siloam, he still is. He's the pastor and First Baptist of Durham, North Carolina, and he came to speak at a Disciple Now. And so he brought 2 kids with him, and he encouraged my wife and I to get involved. And he's like, well, yeah, we'll host some kids. But we had just gotten married. We lived in a small house on Washington Street. So we had to hijack my in-laws' house to host all these boys.
Yeah.
And boy, did we have our hands full. I'll just tell you right now.
How many kids are we talking about?
I think we had...
Young men. Sorry.
How many young men? I think we had... There were 10.
Yeah.
And what I remember about it was there was a high school basketball game that night.
Mm-hmm.
So we came, cheered on the Panthers, which you won.
Yep.
It was an intense game. Got to see Coach Dees in action,
Yep.
right? And then afterwards we went to the church, picked up like this box of food, and then got our kids and went to the house. And let's just say that was on Friday, and I don't think I went back to sleep until Sunday at about 8 p.m. where I just passed out.
Yes, yeah. This was a Disciple Now weekend. Such a cool event, and I think they still do it throughout the community. Mm-hmm. It's people like you, Don, that have shaped the future generations. So I want to say thank you personally. For what you've done.
Yeah.
But seriously, that's just another example of people pouring into events. You see grilling and cookouts and nonprofits and youth events all throughout where the community just comes around and says, hey, we'll help. Hey, we'll sponsor it. We'll get involved. And so we saw that all the time when we moved here. And so that means a lot for people when they come in. But we've been here 25 years and just have loved it ever since. For us, we woke up about 6 years ago. 6 years ago, we looked at each other and we were saying no to other jobs and opportunities that would have taken us outside of this area, some outside of the state, even some outside of the Siloam Springs area, right? And these were opportunities that didn't make sense to say no to. Lots of zeros added to the salaries and perks and career opportunities, but we looked at each other and we just never had a peace about it. When we were praying through it, there wasn't a comfort and a peace that was the direction that God was having us, and so it caused us to stop and say, well, why? Why do we not have a peace about that? And God, what are you doing if you're really calling us to root in and anchor into this area? And it goes to kind of what you're talking about, Kelsey, where the things that we see here is where we choose to want to be and choose to want to raise our family because of the connections, the churches, the families, the structures, the organizations around here that continue to be what we call arrows out, focused on other people. And so we stopped. We said, all right, God, if you're calling us here, we don't want to miss what you're doing. And for us, he called us to serve this community, give back, and be a part of the things that we love so much about this community. Just like that knock on the door. How can we go knock on the doors of these organizations and say, hey, we want to invite you. Hey, we want to pour in. We want to be here for you. And so that led us 6 years ago to say we're going to have arrows out focus. And that just means our radar is sensitive to opportunities to give and to serve. And that led to coaching youth teams. I've coached 28 youth teams in the last 6 years. And that's soccer, basketball, football. That's a lot of kids. That's a lot of parents. Okay, it's a lot of crazy refs.
Been there, done it.
You know it, Don. I know. We're on the same fields a lot of the same time.
Yep.
And so we're coaching youth teams. We're serving on nonprofit boards, just serving in our church. So really just having our arrows out and opportunity, because that's what we loved about this community. And we wanted to be a part of continuing that down the road. It's almost like a relay race. We want to be the carrying the baton to the next generation.
One of the things where my heart is, having talked about running for city board here, is to show an example to this next generation that you don't all have to have the same viewpoint, but you can come together and have thoughtful discussions with the heart of this community in mind, but do so with civility, and treating each other with dignity and respect, because I think that's something you talk about that's lost, and that's why I want to challenge Siloam. We can be different than what's happening at the national level. So I do have another question, trying to stick into our theme here.
Yeah.
Legacy of leadership. You've been representing for 2 years now. What are some legacies from past leaders, both local and at state level, do you feel like has most shaped your vision for our community?
When Megan and I were praying about running and getting into this crazy world of politics, there was a verse that always stuck in our head that we wanted to anchor to and just grab to, and it's Titus 3:2. That talks about, it basically says, give everybody the perfect courtesy and speak with gentleness, speak no evil on anyone. And so that was, we're all going to come to conversations and with different backgrounds and filters and biases. But I promise you, if we have the right context and the right filter of, hey, let's view this in the right context and let's have a conversation. Yes. Doesn't mean we're going to agree on it, but let's not start out at the wrong foot. And the wrong foot is you're an idiot, you're crazy, you're awful, you're wrong, right? Yes. Let's start off on the right foot of, hey, we don't view this the same way. Why is that? We may actually agree on the problem. And that's a big thing. Let's agree on the problem and then work back to the solution. And so sometimes now, especially again nationally, it's a conflated argument where we're not filtering the right way. So we're trying to still anchor onto that for a legacy of leadership where we can help the conversation. Yes. Right? A lot of times we're not even, another verse that's big for us in Proverbs talked about in the multitude of counsel there's wisdom and safety. And so a lot of times, especially in politics, we want to get on an island and with our echo box and our own team and say, we're going to find the solution, get out of the way, and this is what's right, shut up and move on. Yes. But the truth is we have to have a multitude of counsel. For me, the day I was elected, it's crazy, but the day I was elected, I was expected to be an expert in healthcare, energy, social amenities,
the arts.
Everything, right? Every single sector you're supposed to. But the reality is, I'm a business guy with a couple masters in MBA, but I'm focused on small businesses and raising a young family. And so what I do is I try to reach out to experts in those fields, and I say, hey, there's a bill coming across. I've got a veterinarian friend. I don't know the world of medicine and our veterinarians. And I'll say, hey, what would this do to your small practice? What would this do, this bill that we're looking at? Is this right for you? But unfortunately, we don't get that, right? We get people that want to stand up on their own and say, oh, I'll just figure it out, or I'll just lead a charge on this without any insight. Absolutely. So that's the legacy I want to try to lead, is that it's healthy collaboration, but still holding to conviction.
I love that so much because I feel like that is so needed right now. I told someone the other day, because first of all, they talked to me about something. Said, look, you have to understand, I'm just one vote. But what I will do is I will engage and bring the conversation to the forefront. For one person to say, I am going to do this, I think is very short-sighted. I don't have the power to do that alone. What I can do is have thoughtful and engaging conversation and do so publicly and very transparently. So at the end of the day, people understand that we're putting the community first in the decision that we're going to make here. So I think that's just a great point. When you know your neighbor and you love your neighbor, it's easier to have those conversations. I found that when I know the people that I'm dealing with, I know their hearts and I understand who they are, it's easier to have those conversations where we don't agree on certain things, because there's more compassion, there's more patience with that individual. It doesn't mean I'm giving up ground, but I'm going to let them speak, and then we'll speak. And at the end of the day, back to my point, we can agree to disagree and do so in a very civil manner.
Absolutely. I think that for us, it was kind of a simple message when we were campaigning and going door to door. My wife and I, we went to 4,200 doors in 94 days. We wanted to hear from people. We wanted people to hear from us.
That's right.
And if you don't have a heart to serve and you don't have a heart to listen first, you won't want to get out and knock on doors, right?
And you shouldn't be running for office.
Exactly.
Being honest with you.
Exactly right. But I'll tell you, for us, a message was simple, that we want to follow the Word of God and follow the Constitution in that order. But I can tell you, when I go to the Capitol in Little Rock, probably I'll make up a number off the cuff here. I bet it's somewhere around 70% of the things we work on, overwhelming majority, are bipartisan topics, and that take a capacity and a willingness to collaborate. And honestly, a lot of these things really aren't heavy moral, things. These are how much should we fund this amount for? What does the budget need to look like for this? What does planning look like this? How does this work for the entire state, not just this part of the state? And so it's those conversations. But I can tell you, those always don't get the headlines, right? It's that 10, 20% on the edges that get the headlines where we may disagree. But I promise you, it's that 70, 80% that where the work is being done and needs to be done well, to find solutions for all of our Arkansas. And so that's what I'm trying to bring in this role.
Well, there's a lot of people that we've talked to, Don, just in the last few weeks, who have asked some great questions about how our city government works and understanding what kind of issues come to the city board. Would you like to give our listeners just a brief rundown of the seats and how that works in the city board?
Sure.
And specifically in our city board?
Yeah. So Siloam is unique. There's only a few communities that have a city board versus a city council. And here's what's great is if you take it all the way back, our founding fathers, right? If we do a little history lesson, it's such a beautiful model. We have the democracy process that we have is that our people get to decide who they want to represent them. And in fact, our state motto is the Latin phrase that says "Regnat Populus," and that just says that the people rule.
I'm gonna. The gong is coming out for that one. The people rule.
The people rule.
Yes.
And that's how it should be.
Yes.
And so our state is Arkansas is the 25th state in the union, and our history runs deep. And I can tell you, we have a beautiful system in that the people get to decide who they want representing them, all the way from our president down to our governor, to our legislature, which I have the joy to get to serve on, and then down to our county and city offices. And it's a very similar model in that we come together and we listen to ideas, we listen to personalities, we find the people that we want to support, and we go and vote on it. And so it's as simple as that is, that's a beautiful system. And so here specifically coming up in Siloam Springs, we have 3 at-large positions getting ready to be on the ballot. And this is the entire city gets to vote on these offices. And here's what I love. You have the very easy ability to reach out to every candidate.
This is great.
Every candidate. And in fact, this is our responsibility. Our responsibility is to reach out and research and find out, be educated voters, and see who most represents us, who we aligned with. And that's what I would encourage all of us to do, to be an active participation citizen here.
So I want to point out something here. Tyler, your district is pretty large, right? So to that point, because I've brought this up many of times, the great thing about running for this local election is this is Siloam. We're all easy. It's not hard to find us. There are multiple ways you can get a hold of us. And what I want...
Whether you want to or not.
Yes. I'm going to see you at church.
Into each other.
I'll bump into you at Walmart. I might bump into you, at a ball game. But what I want people to do is, and I want to encourage people is, don't listen to narratives. Go talk to the candidates, right? I think that is so important because sometimes we take what we hear and it becomes the gospel. And I always challenge people, and I've had a lot of good conversation through this process where I've encouraged people to reach out to me and they'll ask me questions like, "Hey, I heard this," and I would get to explain the point and say, "Nope, this is what I know," and because the truth matters. And I think it's important to not just listen to what somebody says. And it kind of goes back to the thing they used to do in school, the analogy of if I whisper to you and you turn around and whisper to the person, and it goes down the line. By the time it gets to the end, the message is nowhere near the same. So back to my point of what you said is very important. We're in a small community, a great community, a loving community. Reach out and just ask. I've encouraged a lot of people to do so, and I've been excited to see a lot of people reach out and clarify and ask questions about my platform or things that they may or may not heard. So I encourage everybody this election. You can't do that at the national level, but you can slow down and do your homework, right? But in a small local election, reach out and ask a candidate.
You're absolutely right. And I can tell you, it's hard to put your name on a ballot. It's hard to put yourself out there. It's hard for your family. And I can tell you stories about me and my wife being in our living room in tears, reading about garbage people talk about you. And so people don't realize that how hard that is sometimes. But you're exactly right. I encourage folks to reach out to you and all candidates to ask questions. And that's how it should be done.
I think we should take the opportunity to get to know you a little bit more,
okay,
Tyler. So
I got some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready? Do you
I'm ready.
accept this?
I'm ready.
Okay. Go for
Alrighty.
it.
Rapid fire.
Yep.
Favorite place to go in Siloam?
Oh, favorite place. Okay. Well, let's see. I think about this may not be what people might guess for me, but did you know my first date with my wife was at Sonic?
What?
And now she may not even say it was a date because I don't think she was looking at me the same way I was looking at her at that time, right? But I've got the picture, our first picture, right at Sonic. So every time I go to Sonic, I think about the first time I got to be there with my wife. So Sonic is what I'm going with.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay. Early riser, night owl?
Put me down for night owl.
Really?
Yeah.
Put me down for night owl.
I am not. My wife
Let's
makes
party.
fun of me.
Let's
I go
party
to
all
bed,
night.
Yes.
I go to bed early and I get up early.
Yep.
I'm not a night
Yep.
owl. All right. One other question here.
I've got one, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to know, what is something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Okay, here's one that's a funny story.
Don't hold back.
Here's a
know...
quick funny story.
Okay.
So when Megan and we met at JVU, and when we got engaged, we had our friend who was also a JVU student, who was starting their photography business. We talked to them, and they said, "Hey, can we take Can I take your engagement photos? I'll do them for free." And it helps me build my portfolio. She's starting her business, and we're poor college students, and so we're saying, absolutely, please come take our pictures for free. And she was very talented. We did a whole photo shoot, multiple outfits. I mean, hot day, everything, right? We did all the pizzazz there, and it was great. We signed this little paper for her. She got us the disc, and it was wonderful. We used those in our engagement, saved the dates and everything. Well, fast forward, and we start seeing our photos online. We start seeing our photos on commercials.
What?
We start seeing our photos on billboards and ads.
Hold up.
Yeah. Yes.
I have witnessed this, Dawn.
This is a true story.
This is 100%
What we
true.
didn't realize was that we had signed the rights away to these photos, which we didn't really think anything of it. We're getting free photos. Well, now these photos have been sold on iStock Photo and continue to sell across. So the example is like when you see a couple in a picture frame at Hobby Lobby, and you're like, that's a nice picture frame. Well, that stock photography in the back that was Tyler and Megan.
What?
Like a lot. Like
a lot.
Dawn, I would see it in Walmart.
Come on.
Yes.
I would see it in Hobby Lobby.
Yep.
How did I not know about this?
I don't
So-
know. I'm surprised that you don't know about this. And I'm wondering how many people in Siloam know.
So
Because it is a funny predicament.
It is. It makes it awkward.
What was the weirdest product that you saw
Sure.
yourself
So
on?
we showed up on, now some of the listeners may not remember who this is, but we were on David Letterman one night.
What?
David Letterman.
I did not know that.
Yes, David Letterman shows a segment where they open a Valentine card, and there's Tyler and Megan, and it was funny Valentine messages or something. And so we're on national TV showing. We're just sitting. People are sending us these pictures and tagging us on posts and different things. So still to this day, she's this lady, our friend. We're so thankful she got to make thousands off of these. We didn't get a dime, but we got free photos.
Oh, yeah, you go.
And so that's a funny story
Good for her.
that we've popped around here for the years.
So the moral to the story is, always read the fine
read
print.
the fine print. Yes, read the fine print. So that's a funny story that happened right here in Siloam
In
Springs.
Siloam Springs.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, hey, Tyler, we really appreciate you joining us. And I didn't know you guys went to school together.
Yeah.
JBU and high school.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
Right
yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the Siloam game
It is.
I'm talking about. So yeah,
Yep.
Thank you, Tyler. It was so nice to sit and chat with you.
It's an honor to get to join you guys. I love what y'all are doing, honoring our past and planning for the future. When Megan and I decided where we wanted to raise our family and put down roots, we it's perfect specifically said we don't want to live where there's heavy traffic and where you don't and we don't want to pay for parking. And we just love this community. And that's what this is. We have everything that you kind of could want. We have amenities. We're close to other things that we don't have, but you get to live in a values-rich community. And so we are all a part of that, and we're all responsible for making sure that continues.
Well, stay tuned for future episodes where we get to talk to yet another fabulous member of the town of Siloam Springs. And also just want to give a quick thanks and shout out to Jacob McCoy and Ben Bergstrom for our beautiful original theme music.
Absolutely.
That you can hear at the introduction and this outro. So, we've got beautiful, talented people here. Thanks so much. Appreciate y'all listening, and we'll catch you next time.
See you, folks.